just thought I'd do a quick unboxing video. This my first plank in about well, since 1991 I think was the last time I flew a plank. So I bought myself a Parkzone F4F Wildcat. As you can see, it's pretty much a bind and fly, pretty much straight out the box, bolt it together and away you go. So let's see what we got. Quite a nice looking model, I have to say. Right hand side, quite a short wingspan actually it's going to be. Just hope this suitable for a novice like myself. As I say, I've not flown since 1991, so we'll have to see. But as you can see, quite nicely finished. Let's pop that up there. From the sound of the box, it's probably made out of the same stuff as the model, so I can probably use it for repairs. Again, a wing, right hand side. It's good to actually see that that it's put the stars on the top of one wing and not on the other. So look on the other side. I'm hoping that the colours are going to not disappear into the sky too much, and that I can maintain some idea on orientation, but hopefully the colours of the stars top and bottom will give me some idea whether I'm upside down or downside up. Let's put that up there. Forgot to mention the bind and fly build manual, and there we have one fuselage. Hope you're seeing all this. Hope I'm catching it on the video. It's in a colour scheme for a Lieutenant O'Hare. Now my history leaves a little bit to be desired, but if I remember rightly, that's the guy whose father, I believe, was a solicitor for some of the major Chicago-based gangsters, and this guy, the solicitor, whilst defending the criminals, wanted to have his son do the right thing, and sure enough, he joined the Air Force and was a considerably decorated pilot during the war. And I think that's also who Chicago O'Hare Airport's named after. But forgive me if there's any enthusiasts out there that know better than I, then I stand corrected. But as you can see, quite a nice looking model. Not a bad bit of detail on the cockpit. Hopefully this is following me on the focus, but yeah, quite nice. And as you might be able to see in there, you've got a reasonably detailed instrument panel as well, so quite a nice little prop. That's the first thing I'm going to need to go and buy a few spares of, but yeah, quite nice. And a tailplane, a little bit of what was referred to as gravel rash, or runway rash on the top there. Maybe I'll have to see if I can't find a bit of watercolour paint that will be a good match for this for touch-up purposes, but hey, whatever. I'm sure it won't be too long before I add a little bit more gravel rash to it. There we go. So, one 3-cell balancing LiPo charger. Don't think I should be using that too much. I should be using my old Sigma EQ to balance the charge and balance the LiPos, but hey, you never know. It's a field charger and it's not too shabby, so we'll take a look at that later. What else have we got? Some loop tape. We've got some screws in there. I guess that's to secure the wings, and some grommets. And we have a Parkzone 11.1 volt 1300 milliamp hour 3S LiPo. I can see that I'm going to probably swap this across. What is that? An EC3? Forgive me, I don't never know the names of these chargers. Charging plugs, I should say. But that's going to get changed to a DIN, so I can use the LiPos on my T-Rex 450 to power this thing up as well. So with a bit of luck they'll fit. I'm sure I'm going to have to tinker around with the centre of gravity to get it there. So that's unboxing. Let's pop that down there and see if I can open up the manual and see what's needed to be done to pull this canopy off. Yep, sure enough, the canopy does come off. It's a little bit of a tug. There it is. There's magnets that hold the thing on, and they're quite strong magnets. I guess that's those there in the centre screen. I don't know where the one at the front is, but as you can see, it's pretty much ready to rock and roll. I think I'm going to take a look at those way those servos are mounted, because they don't, to me, appear to be level. and also the one at the rear doesn't look to be connected to anything, so I guess that's for the elevator. But again, they look to be very slightly on the skew in there. Probably can't see that. As you can see, the ESC is tucked down inside there. You can probably just about make that out. The LiPo, from what I can make out, fits in this little pod here. Hopefully there's enough space in there to get the 2200 tuner gears that I'm going to be using in it. Fingers crossed on that. It does say in the manual that it comes with some longer Velcro tape to accommodate a better, or rather I should say a bigger battery. And you can probably also just about make out in there there's a little Spectrum AR500 with a bind plug in that's ready to go. I've loosened the screws on the canopy. I didn't know whether they needed to come out in order to get the canopy off, but in fact they didn't, so I should be putting those back in again. But I also want to check tightness of the prop. As you can also see, there's a little bit of detail there on the inlet. It's a pseudo or a false radial engine that's supposed to represent, I suppose, but you know, a little bit of detail doesn't hurt, does it? Well, installing the wings looks pretty straightforward. As you can see, there's a boom, a spar, whatever you want to call it, that sticks into one side of the fuselage and through the centre patch there and out the other side. It's just a case of shoving the wings on, from what I can understand. Let's give it a go. And there we go. Wings on. Relatively straightforward. I haven't done the screws up yet, but it's a little bit fiddly getting the aileron cables through the holes, but I might see if I can't put a bit of string on them or do something like that to make it a little bit better. There's some kind of Y harness here. I'm not quite sure how that works. I need to look at that to see whether or not it makes a difference which way's which. I don't suppose it does, because I can always reverse the aileron servos when I've hooked them in, so hopefully you can see that. Looking like an aeroplane. The horizontal stabiliser looks to be held on by pretty much the same way. There's a push rod that comes through here onto which the horizontal stab attaches. And there we go, tailplane's on. A little bit spooky because it's, other than the push rods, it's basically held on by a couple of bits of sticky tape. All a little bit mad. Me being me, there's no need to. I thought I'd have the prop off and just make sure that the screws and that were all done up on the motor to the airframe, and everything seems fine. Props are a reasonably natty piece of kit actually. I mean, all the props that I've actually assembled over the years on planks many years ago, I'll grant you, were just literally held on by a nut at the end of the crankshaft. This one's actually got some fashion of collet on there that, as you can see by tightening up the nut at the front, which is just done with a screwdriver, it just pulls the collet into the into this piece, a slider, I don't know, whatever you call it, and it causes the hole in that nut to restrict, and it holds it on the boss. As you can see, there is a very slight flat spot on that crank, but I actually don't think it makes a difference where you put it, so anyway, we shall see. I also thought while I had the nose cone off, I'd take a look at the tuner geese, the 2200 milliamp hours that I use on the 4S, and yeah, they do fit. As you can see, I think I'm going to have some C of G issues. It's sticking out a good bit further than the Parkzone battery. Let's just get hold of that Parkzone and lay it on the top for reference. So as you can see, it's pretty much twice the size, so I think we're going to need a bit of weight in the tail to counter that, but we'll worry about that when we get there. And there we have, after probably about 20 minutes or so of assembly, probably a bit more because I've been passing around making this video, one fully assembled Parkzone F4F Wildcat. As you can see, it's not a bad looking model. It's my first venture, as I've already said a couple of times, into fixed wing for a little while. I'm hoping my lessons learned on helis might help me get to grips with the thing. Again, let's see if I can get in there and give you a bit of a detail shot on what's going on the flight deck. Yeah, all in all, not too shabby, I don't think. Not a bad little model. Let's see how it flies. Not going to be able to do too much more today. I need to stop now and stick the Dean's connectors on the batteries and ESC before I can start tinkering around binding it to my radio, but that shouldn't take too long.